Are you proud of yourself? Are people proud of you? How you perceive yourself plays a lot in how you present yourself. Modern psychological theories posit many kinds of ways people compensate for their shortcomings or mirror others that they find to be the higher standard of character because they want to feel a higher sense of self. That feeling of gratification of being the best version of yourself, is it always proportional to your actual accomplishments? Sometimes we overestimate our ability to do something we're mediocre at, and sometimes we don't even realize that we're great at something, no matter what anyone says. We humans are very social creatures, and whether we like it or not, we often find ourselves questioning our self-worth based on things around us. But what does it mean to be proud? Or even, what is pride? Pride is often contextualized in media as being the root of all evil, equated to hubris and delusion more than anything else. It's the idea of believing in yourself to be so much more important than others, which can lead to conflict and isolation. But surely, there has to be a reason that the word proud is a good thing. I'm proud of you. You make me so proud. Walk proudly are often paraded as good. And that's because the concept of pride is as much arrogance as it is confidence. In this video, I want to give pride a more holistic definition, rather than chalking it up to be completely negative. Pride will be defined as the all-encompassing level of gratification and satisfaction that a person has about themselves, their history, their environment, and their capabilities. And today, I want to explore that definition by using a character that's been dualistically defined as the best and the worst at being the best. This is a story of someone that learns what it truly means to be proud of the people around them and of everything about themselves, both the good and the bad. This is someone that learns that humility doesn't come from shame and self-loathing, but from love and pride. Green from Alan Becker's Stick Figure series is a complex character that perfectly embodies a simple question. What are you proud of? Because pride, much like every other emotion or quality in your life, isn't inherently evil. Instead, it's a multifaceted concept. On one hand, pride is what lets you lead others and lets you build on your talents and traits that are unique to you. But on the other hand, pride is isolating. It could lie that you're the best person in the room, making you deaf to everyone else's opinions to the point of believing that you're always going to be better than them. Green is one of the main protagonists of Alan Becker's Animation vs. Minecraft and the deuteragonist in Animator vs. Animation, as well as other series here and there in the channel. When the Second Coming barges into their home, Green is the first one to accept the newcomer as a friend and is deeply enthusiastic to see another stick. Unlike Purple's story in my previous analysis, which is much more linear, Green's story is more scattered in smaller moments and gestures, accumulating into one of the most important stories in his arc in the future. Which is why for this character analysis, I'll be doing it from concept to character instead of character to concept. But for now, let's dissect this slowly. Green is best described as the perfectly imperfect archetype, a character that's known for their prowess and being generally well-rounded, but is constantly the butt of the joke for how much the universe wants to bully him. Green, as a person, is meticulous, and though sometimes rowdy, is highly skilled and quick to pick up on things that aren't immediately on his radar. But time and time again, he proves the Murphy's Law true. Anything that can go wrong, whether or not it's within his control, will go wrong, hence why he's constantly humiliated by the world around him, despite the other sticks recognizing that he's got a lot of talent for his craft. He has never been shown as weak or incapable, especially in serious fights, but he's unlucky and usually battered down by circumstances he's unaware of. But where this video will mostly focus on is his sense of self-perception and self-presentation, because Green, by all definitions, is a prideful character. He knows how to take center stage and likes being the star of the show, despite the show actively being against him, while simultaneously also being the one to invigorate others with the confidence he has for himself. And the first kind of bravado bleeds well into the core concept of pride. what are you proud of about yourself? Or even the harder question, do you even like yourself? Intrinsic pride comes with your own positive self-perception of your talents and personal achievements, basing it off of your own internal criteria of what's good and bad in a person, then assessing yourself based on that. This is what I like to call the rawest form of pride, because all the other kinds disappear if you aren't internally proud of yourself. And for a lot of people, this is the hardest one to find. Because let's face it, everyone has something they're good at, even if they don't realize they're good at it. Or even worse, we've been taught that shame equals humility. But Green shows us that this kind of pride, the ability to be confident in your own talents, is a beautiful thing. He's unapologetically himself in the things he does and creates without having other people's negative opinions or murder weapons compromise his opinion of himself. He's extra, flashy, with every move he does intended to showcase the best aspects of his talents. In various episodes, we see him enthusiastically pick up on skills that he's naturally good at. When he receives the Minecraft block for the first time, he undoubtedly creates an intricately moving windmill without even questioning the limits of what he can do. In build battles, he's confident of his work but doesn't put others down for their efforts. He is just naturally confident within the confines of the challenge and cheers on the other people's presentations. Furthermore, he's proud of his more artistic flair throughout the Minecraft series, embracing his talent in music by first starting out with note blocks and being able to conduct not only a small-scale performance, but an entire symphony by the newer seasons. He has also embraced his ability to manifest his creativity into different media, like dress-up, his fighting style, his designs, and even in how he coordinates others. But intrinsic pride isn't only from what you're good at. Self-confidence reinforces your resilience to change because your sense of self-worth is resolute. Being proud of yourself in a healthy way also includes security during times of failure. In the same vein, this is why Green is able to push himself up after the many times he's defeated or messes up in some way. Either he's beaten in battle by circumstances, or his plans don't work as well as he'd like it to. But intrinsic pride is also important for self-assessment. If you're not able to confidently see your successes, then you'll only ever amplify your failures. Most of the time, our problems about self-image are brought about by our biggest enemy, ourselves. But more importantly, having a strong sense of intrinsic pride makes you more secure, which leads you to reflecting on your actions a lot more. And this is where our tangent bleeds into the influencer arc. It innocently starts with this kind of confidence, the pride in yourself to be proud of something. And in this intro sequence, we see how much Green values his creativity and ability to perform and produce. Not only did he showcase his ability on the ball, but he was also quick to plop the footage into Premiere Pro and was confident that his friends would like what he made. Remember, by this point, Green had no intention of being a YouTuber, and the idea didn't even cross his mind. It was Red who proposed the idea of uploading it on YouTube so that they can enjoy it on a bigger screen. Green was just genuinely happy, at this time, to have created something that he and his friends would be proud of. Which is why it isn't enough for you to be proud of yourself internally. Alan Becker's animations prioritize the concept of bonds and camaraderie in the narrative because that's what they're supposed to be. A group of friends hanging out in wacky adventures. They're a gang for a reason who have each other's back. And when you're a part of something, you tend to adopt an identity and self-perception based not only on your role in that group, but also your relationship with others. Collective pride is what I define as the pride you feel when you're with people you consider close with, either feeling joy for their achievements or trust in their abilities. You feel happy that your success and abilities have positively contributed to the team, and you feel the need to push yourself to greater lengths because you want to feel useful and helpful, whatever the result may be. Green manifests this pride in two ways. First is collective pride for the people around you. It's the way that you look at a friend getting a high score and clap for them. Despite Green's bolstering amount of confidence in himself and being rather competitive, he also uses that confidence to cheer people on or hype them up. You know the term, hurt people hurt people. take the reverse of that, and that's basically what Green's relationship is with a lot of them. Beyond the usual quips and annoyances, he cares deeply for the other sticks and respects their prowesses by a lot. He respects Orange's ability to be a better fighter, even if he does get annoyed at times when he loses. He understands that it's all in the name of good fun. He indulges in Yellow's chicanery and gives his whole in participating in something that Yellow creates. And even when he was getting physically assaulted by Orange's creation, he has so much patience because either he knows that Orange would get upset if he retaliated, or that he trusts Orange's judgment to not take Bob's beatings to the heart or to the face. He's also rather open to asking help from others when he knows he needs it, such as trusting Yellow's abilities in Redstone enough to educate him, or letting Blue teach him how to cook. He is also enthusiastic enough to indulge when it's other people's time to shine with their own creations and things they're proud of. He's also not opposed to bringing others along to bask in glory, even when it's something that he created. When he realized that he had a knack for music, he happily dragged the others to start a band with him. Even when he got annoyed with them messing his solo performance, he still relented and eventually they all played together. The second kind of collective pride he embodies is that he knows his place in the group and doesn't step on other people's toes. The goal of collective pride is collective success, regardless if you're the main character or not. If you're going to put others down because you want a shred of glory, then your pride is self-serving. Instead, Green, despite his tendency to sometimes get heated with others, is a great team player and understands when it's time to remove the veil of tomfoolery and actually pay attention to the people around you. Green also has a strong sense of emotional awareness to know when it's okay to fool and mess around with others, or when he actually needs to make sure they're okay, or if they need a second opinion. Green doesn't count the times that he's been down or when others have failed, because they're a team. Instead, he focuses on how he can help towards the bigger objective, willingly putting himself in harm's way for other people, or even makes sure that they're still okay with the group's plan. He's the one that welcomes others in the group and makes sure that they're still comfortable. This is best shown with how often he makes sure that Orange is fine tagging along with things, and waits for him while the others run ahead. He also gives others pride where they can't find it in themselves. Green also pulls the team together and formulates a plan, taking point if he has to, because he knows that not only does he have the skills to lead them, but he does take a backseat when others feel like they have a better grasp of the situation. He steps up not because he thinks he's better than everyone else, but because he knows that they trust each other enough to let him have that position. In the Influencer arc, we see that these two sides of collective pride are shown in two ways. First is the authentic pride he has for his friends' individual abilities and moments. He made it a point to showcase all of them in the first video and show their best parts. Of course, he removed the moments when they actually messed up, but he still made it a point to do this content with his friends. In his first 3 videos, he gives the spotlight to the others since he's the director and camera person. Even his role as Greenzilla gives Orange the hero spotlight. Even after the combat with the glitched Green, he points the camera away from himself. This is why it's important to understand why Yellow's removal was the pivotal turning point for his character. We know that it's fine to remove mistakes, but this was the first time that Green actually removed someone just because they weren't conforming to his audience's perfect vision. This is when he starts losing that authentic collective pride and starts commodifying the idea of the color gang. But the second manifestation of collective pride in Green's journey as an influencer is much sadder. Even after his transgressions with his friends, he still makes it a point to not only include them in captions, but also try to delude himself into thinking that he's okay, and that his friends are still with him. At first, I thought it was a show for the audience to think that there's no controversy, but I'd argue it's something more subconscious. Especially since he was genuinely lonely. He took pride with being a part of his friends' lives, and when that identity is gone, he unconsciously clung onto that lost role. He was filming them having fun allegedly, he gets mellow when he talks about Orange meeting them, and he tries to have a picnic alone. And he even gets really happy when he thinks he hears Blue. I think this is his sad way of thinking that things are still fine, even if he knows they aren't. However, this is where the concept of pride breaks into a deeper layer and morphs into something that's more complex. So let me ask you a question. Is it important for you that other people know you're good. That pride fostered is what I call validated pride. The idea that external forces such as other people or other items like awards and money are needed to reinforce your accomplishments and sense of self. Now, on the surface, this can seem like the opposite of intrinsic pride because why would you need someone else to tell you your worth? Well, I'd argue that validation is still necessary. First is the mere fact you're human. The praise from others can be a reinforcement that what you're doing is in fact correct, and it feels nice to know that other people appreciate you for what you do. You can't fault yourself for looking for attention sometimes, especially when it comes with hard work, diligence, and time. But the second, more important part is that validated pride means credibility. This is especially the case if you think your pride is misplaced. But to know if validation is healthy is based on how you react without it. Green shows both sides of validated pride in his growth as a character. On one hand, he uses validation as a cooperative tool. If his friends like it, then it must be good, and he values the opinions of people that he cares about, which is why whenever the others are having fun, he makes it a point to indulge them. He indulges Red's more harmless physical exercises like ragdolling, and he indulges in Yellow's roller coaster because he seemed pretty excited to show it to them. The important part is what you do with that validation, and we see that it can go one of two ways during his time as a YouTuber. At first, he was happy when his friends were happy, indulging in their antics and using their positive reinforcement to do what they want to do as a team. But when the YouTube comments start piling up, his sense of validation shifted and centered on mass of strangers online. Validation became a goal rather than an effect, and he started getting peer pressured to chase after what a handful of people want, without considering what was good for both him and the gang. And he'd even eat grass just for views. The metrics became what fueled his sense of validated pride. I've already mentioned previously about Green's competitive nature, but I actually want to focus on it deeper because it's such a pivotal part of his character. There is nothing inherently wrong about healthy competition. Competitive pride is derived from confidence born from besting someone else by an arbitrary standard. In my opinion, the reason why competitive pride is inherently neutral is because competition can let you test yourself against another person's capabilities, allowing for self-assessment, reflection, and benchmarking. Green does get pretty salty when he loses, but in a funny way. Nothing ever too serious and egregious, just mild tantrums sometimes escalating into sparring. Competition is another way of validation, and whether we like it or not, it makes us feel good to do good in something we're passionate in. Healthy competitive pride manifests in how you know when to be competitive and you know when to be empathetic. Green's great examples of this are when he's competitive during actual competitions, like the build battle, Redstone Academy, the speedrun, and the parkour. But he's not as overexerting when he's just chilling with others. Sure, he jokingly tries to one-up them, but when the others are genuinely impressive too, he claps for them. He doesn't completely sulk when Red wins the Redstone challenge, and he was willing to share Orange's trophy before Orange insisted, for very wholesome reasons of course. But in the influencer arc, competitive pride manifests in a different way, in a way that a lot of people don't admit, because the greatest competitor that a person has is unfortunately themselves. We're the ones that set arbitrary expectations based on how we think we compare to others. Competitive pride bleeds into unhealthy comparison where victory and achievements are the only variables. And in the influencer arc, Green's worst enemy is the idea that his metrics and videos must constantly go popular. He must constantly be available for his audience, or he must be on track with the trends. He doesn't realize that when you set such a fickle goal for yourself, the finish line just keeps getting farther and farther. This need of chasing the highest wow factor eventually culminates in him losing the essence of what he created the channel for and started chasing trends that others weren't necessarily on board with. Even worse, we see him turn to fruitless trends just to keep up appearances, but no matter what he does, he can never truly reach that finish line drawn in the sand. He also starts seeing other people as less of allies and more as obstacles to overcome, which bleeds into the next kind of pride. Perfected pride borders on the idea that self-worth must be honed and cultivated to its maximum potential, to the point of removing external factors that could damage it. Green is nothing if not someone that enjoys his work consistent and clean. But don't be fooled. It's normal that when you're very passionate about an art or a craft, you want to give your best for it. Most of the time, perfectionism is proportional to the amount of effort you actually put. In the Note Block concert, Green not wanting to accept things the way they are and being open to the silverfish even after Red's invitation isn't really just him being selfish, but also because this was supposed to be his event. His symphony is getting ruined regardless of the effects. Presumably, he was the one that organized the whole event, and for it to be ruined is a massive and justified blow to all of his effort. The problem is when you start treating every little detail as a flaw. He starts lying about challenges and presents them as authentic. He also starts removing his friends more and more, despite them just wanting to be a part of the video. And that's what's dangerous with pride. You stop looking internally when you make mistakes and start blaming the world for its imperfections, thinking the worst of everyone around you, and heightening the idea that if they don't conform to my expectation of presentation, then they don't deserve to be a part of it. And as you slowly collapse more into your own psyche, trying to safeguard and perfect a superficial ego, you start isolating yourself from the world around you. Green's final descent is when he self-isolates himself from the color gang. And here's the word: self-isolate. Though we know that the others are pissed off at him, orange especially given the stunt that he pulled, we know that the color gang are willing to forgive even the most brutal of transgressions if that person did just one thing: apologize. But Green has completely decided against it and shut himself in the house, to the point of closing the curtains when he hears an explosion outside. Why this is so important is because this is the same person that never hesitated running after someone despite circumstances. Isolated pride is derived from the idea that your own image and identity is solely yours to foster and protect. But by doing so, you've inadvertently amplified all the worst possible scenarios about everyone else, that you end up feeling isolated and alone. This kind of scene is even sadder for a character like Green, because if there's one thing he's not good at, it's being in isolation. Out of all of the sticks, Green rarely has any adventures where he's actually truly alone. Contrast this attitude with characters like Orange that do prefer his quiet time, and Yellow that did all of this because he was bored. Even when Green does seek solitude, it's never without the others being in the immediate vicinity. The rare times that he's alone is in Note Block Battle, where he's just relaxing with his music before heavily suggesting peace from Yellow, Red, and Blue. But he still makes it a point to relax and harmonize with them by the middle of the episode. Whenever Green is alone though, it's usually with the context of other people. For example, he was forcibly isolated from his friends by Purple during parkour and has to solo throughout the Nether. This leads to him being jailed and trapped. When Green does go on a solo mission during Season 3, it's with the context of chasing after Purple. And when he's alone against Primal, it's because he was saving Orange. And this all culminates into Green's descent as his channel stops being about him and his friends. Remember, it was a courtesy for the other sticks to also be okay with naming the channel primarily Green's. And even without having to cut out his friends from his content, he rarely ever involves himself with them anymore in his future videos. And that's why pride is a deadly sin. Because by focusing so inwardly on yourself, you start forgetting that there are other people in your life. You stop listening, you stop learning, and you stop loving. And when Green realizes that truth, he lets the mask slowly crumble away because he's finally looking at the one person pride said you're supposed to be focused on. He lets the isolation and the loneliness be the silence he needs to fully process what he did and what he's become. He listens to that small voice in his head that boldly says, "You're alone, you messed up, and you know what you have to do." But he doesn't break apart and self-loathe, because that's what a lot of people don't realize. Self-loathing is not the same as self-improvement. True humility is the acceptance that you're not better than the punishment of your flaws and misconduct, and that rather than breaking apart under guilt, it is your responsibility to set the record straight. Because admitting to yourself that you need to change is harder than a lot of people think. Self-loathing gives you the illusion of fixing yourself, but all it ever does is keep the doors sealed tight because you're so convinced that you must be such a horrible person that the mere idea of change is impossible. But it's this idea that Green rightfully counters when he confronts Purple. He challenges that idea of despair and says that boxing yourself into the horrible extremes of all good and all bad is what makes you stagnant. Rather, you should just accept yourself as the way you are, perfectly imperfect. And should there come a time where you can't find that good in yourself, there will be people out there that are willing to search with you. And this is the same reflection he has in the influencer arc. He had been so caught up with perfecting this crude self-image loved and adored by faceless fans all across the internet that he forgot the people that actually knew the real him. By accepting his mistakes and the flaws that he has and what he does, did he make the changes that he needed. And just like a circle, it goes back to the first two kinds of pride. But he found it in himself to accept the imperfections of his work, and that the faulty few didn't define all of him. And neither did the praise and adoration, and neither did the opinions of others for the people that he loves. In reality, he was green. Just green. And green was good enough for his friends, and green was good enough for him.